Spiritual freedom, spiritual slavery, spiritual freedom, spiritual mediocrity, spiritual freedom. Are your experiences psychological or are they spiritual? Oh, that's my song for this one, but Barak Bashad, may the blessings be. From the 24th of the 4th month of 1435, introduction and welcome to the ECK Dream 1 Discourses by Harold Klemp. Page II has the label that is so often a part of Eckankar books by Harold Klemp, and implied for the other books by him are before August 7th, 1983, under Darwin Gross, or before him, Paul Twitchell. That is to say, like, authored and published under the supervision of the Mahanta, the living Eckmaster, Sri Harold Klemp. They are the word of Eck. And remember, Eck is a varied word. What in the world does Eck mean? That's up to the user. That's part of how Eckankar holds the membership that it does, is it uses ambiguous language and people think, oh, it's confirming my beliefs. It seems that, as far as we know, from what they have, that the prophets and messengers of God did not consider all their works, after gaining the prophethood, to be God's revealed word, or even completely inspiration. That is why the prophetic figures of old identified what teachings were quotes and which were authoritative explanations of metaphysical or religious matters. Their personal character may have been to be submissive to God's will, but the personal tastes and styles were largely not an explicit part of their own teachings. Is the highest conscious being a Mahanta? What do you think of a leader claiming to only write and speak, quoting divine spirit or God as a verb? Certainly, if someone's claiming that something like that is the case, then that a Cassandra must be, instead of a prophet, a Cassandra would be the better term for a spiritual leader. But this is the claim, right? Introduction. Page VII of the ECK Dream 1 Discourses by Harold Klemp says that Harold Klemp is the Dream Master. Could this be part of the same delusions of grandeur he mentions being questioned about during a psychiatric hospital stay for a condition like paranoid schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder brought on by his heavy drinking and poor eating at the time when he was younger? And a member of Eckankar, by the way. He still admits in Spiritual Wisdom on Healing to bouts of it are a somatic form of schizophrenia from eating mistakes and being overwhelmed by overexposure to certain elements in his surroundings. The new format of the ECK Discourses is to make the books twice as big, with workbook pages, and to have a CD with it. It seems to be like having a members-only ECK satsang class, even when none is available for the discourse one is on. Few areas with Eckankar centers would have one going for each of the discourse series that the local members are one. Obviously, in large areas like Chanhassen, around the temple, they might have, a discourse series available for everybody, at least starting on a yearly basis. But one of the two local leaders for the ECK Writers journaling meetings said he was currently doing 4 at a time. A brief review of this second of a series of 17 is showing that the workbook pages are no more profound than what you'd expect the 18-year-old are older individuals who are reading them to come up with. I would most strongly agree that making some record of one's spiritual life and developing an awareness of one's experience in that context is a good idea. And the welcome. Now, the welcome letters, the welcome and warning from the first discourse is probably the best, well, the most telling one of the bit. But you can go back and watch that part if you haven't. Is Harold Klemp a true friend of those who have to pay to be a member of his group? Are those who worship him at all? Is dreams the most interesting study? I believe it is for some. Does he really start off this discourse series explaining the true nature of dreams? I would agree that the spiritual exercises are the best part of the discourses when they are appropriate. Eckankar seems not to focus on them being for devotion or out of love of God as much as to witness sights and sounds in a spiritual way. Are any of them revealed especially from God? I'll let you make your own decisions regarding that as you read what I share. The first page is right about both being a newcomer on a spiritual path, being as a new spiritual life, and that the holy can cleanse what remains of your previous experience. Is the message about the secret rhythm and mentions of the discourses being of God to cause people to feel privileged and thereby imbibing it with a status? Is that a reality? The third page calls to make a note of that, drew attention and the emotional reaction to the welcome letter. I've shared the former, and letter can be guessed by the mixed reactions. The fourth page asks to visualize whomever the Mahanta of Eckankar is, opening the gateway to the inner worlds. I don't believe in all that, but I can visualize just about any material thing, bouncing a reflection or something into my peripheral vision. When I watch a show is one thing, but I'd rather picture myself opening the way to my own inner worlds. I've watched too many movies and shows to not picture the gateways as not in some way like for a mansion or a technological device. On the other side, for me, it's like my own private musing and alterations of what is on the outside. Is that what the gate and inside is like for you too? The ECK Dream 1 Discourses by Harold Klemp, page 5, has a third workbook exercise for the welcome letter. How is any human the inner master? I can't see myself treating a living ECK master as the voice inside my head who controls me. Would that scare you too? I have and will ask God to find out even one item to improve with my spiritual practices, though. My studies and interactions with others continue to provide me with next steps at times. Often it is just personal reactions that cause me to sense what I should do next. The next page calls one to imagine a baptism in spirit, Baphomet, as you will. Many faiths call for an introductory washing that is also spiritual. Here is the imagining of being bathed in God's presence, as water is called for. September 23rd, 2000 of the Common Era is when I became Jafar Sa'i and Bak Achurwa. That and my formal confession of faith at the Juma before Ramadan of that year were such experiences. It was as if I was being washed of the old by heaven, in a way even before those first born-again baths taken later by myself, which were also special in feeling. The change in my life, I noticed, was as if something was lifted, something that I didn't even know was there. something heavy. I can do practices of the presence of God, and that the Shekinah, light beings, Holy Spirits, are witnesses with or without light visualizations, and find a comfort beyond mere escape. I guess that is more than one difference that has brought me closer to God, and knowing death is closer. Page 7 has the 5th welcome workbook exercise. I again won't pray to anyone who would call themselves Mahanta for a personal spiritual exercise. One reason is I have my own ways. Another is I only feel comfortable praying to God for ways to express my personal understandings. I want my ways in line with God's. I'll focus on my obligations and what is recommended. Voluntary practices will surely come in time within boundaries. Barak Bashad. May the blessings be. And these are just 10 of the 972 that Eckankar considers to be their spiritual leaders at the time. One was kicked off the list.